Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Radical Race Series, Season 2 of 2022. We are round number 5. Apologies, not round number 4. It is week number 5, round number 5 at Bathurst. Now, this is arguably one of the trickiest circuits in iRacing. It's one of the trickiest circuits, period. And it doesn't really get much harder, especially when you couple it with the likes of the Radicals. It's certainly going to be an interesting combination. But it's something that I am very much looking forward to. We are just about to, we're actually underway with qualifying at the moment, so drivers will be getting their first laps in. My name is Daniel Handover, and I will be taking you through the action this evening. And we're going to have a look first at the championship standings, because after last week, they've certainly taken not necessarily taken a turn in the sense of negative side. It's definitely been shaken up. One of the main reasons, apologies, we won't actually be getting championship standings there because nothing has come up. But I am going to get the championship standings over to you in a few moments' time. And in fact, here we go. Martin Booker now takes the championship lead with 119 points. He is leading by John Hutchison now. He didn't turn up he wasn't available for last race. He is now down at 115. So he's still in second despite missing a round. And they've both cleared, the only two drivers in the 100 points. You've got Dave Kirkman having a very, very solid season so far with 98. So again, it's close at the top still. We haven't looked through. Sergio Martinez de la Cruz in 4th, Simon Edwards 5th, Paul Clark, Paul Crabb, Colin Wynn, and then both of the Graham Browns on actually identical points as well. So, it's certainly been an interesting start to the season with the first 5 rounds. We're just getting to the point where we're roughly over, or just getting to the point of halfway in the season itself. Next week will be the halfway point. And this is going to have a very, very big impact on what happens next. This is going to set the precedence because Bathurst is a track where you can gain. It's also a track where you can lose. And if you are not careful and you're not cautious around this circuit, it can go very, very wrong very, very quickly. We are going to have a look at qualifying. Now you can see there's Martin Booker as he goes across our screen. And in fact, there is Martin Booker now. So again, one of the first people that he's going to set a lap, I think. We're going to have, what's that, Paula May. We've got we're going to have a lap on the board for him in a few moments' time. Austin Gresarex is, yes, we've got a few drivers. You're going to see all of a sudden the times are just going to shoot in straight away. The person that's setting the time and board and light on their first lap, though, is the man, the myth, the legend, is John Hutchison on his return after last week's hiatus as he comes through the chase, coming down the final complex of corners, keeps it all in check. Perfect stuff, and it's going to be a clean lap. Straight on the board. Only thing now is it does depend. Does he get the last corner right? It looks like he gets it right, to be fair. It's going to be a very, very quick lap. John Hutchison goes in with a 56.9. And I tell you what, that's certainly that's a very, very fast lap, actually, in all honesty. Dom Lang-Webb goes up into second place with Paul Crabb in 3rd. Simon Edwards in P4, then Paula May 5th. Martin Booker, the race winner for last race, currently sitting in 6th. More times coming now down on the board. Few drivers unable to set laps. Their first lap have not counted, interestingly enough. They'll be having a couple of... they will have another attempt. Admittedly, they do have 3 attempts here with this qualifying. Depends. It's going to have to be. So it's always a tricky thing here as well, especially when you're going into from a positioning of having that first lap taken away from you. It's so crucial that you get the second lap right. If you don't get the second lap right, it all goes a little bit wrong. And I think we've all been there, especially someone like Bathurst. It's very, very tricky, and you do have to be very, very careful, because like I said, if it goes a little bit wrong, tends to go, if it goes any form of wrong at Bathurst, tends to go wrong in spectacular fashion. Martina Ward, currently P16. First lap was a 2 minute .3, so getting a banker initially. Pat Seaborn just goes up into 17th. That's his first flying lap completed. But up the front, though, so John Hutchinson is setting the... he's going to put another personal best, and you'll see that time drop, providing it is valid. And I don't think it was, in all honesty. Oh, no, there we go. Yep, there we are, 56.1. So 56.1 there for John. Very, very fast indeed. Dom Langweb goes up with 56.8. Simon Edwards up there as well with another 56.8. Also, Martin Booker slots himself up into P4. A couple of people with a few more purples being set. So the top 7, top 8 now are all on their final flying laps. Colin Wynn goes up into P6. Graham Brown's just set a purple. He set a purple sector 4. So I'm interested to see what his first lap, or his first timed lap is going to be. His first actual flying lap did not count. Goes through Murray's for the final time for this particular lap, and then we'll have one more after. There he goes across the line. He goes up into P10. Good position there for him. Something started to build off of. Another person that's haven't got a lap on the board is Phil Glover. Although, once again, he will be setting his first time across the line in a few moments. You saw Pat Seaborn there, 22nd. Mike Busson, look at that, Mike Busson, with a 156.6. So the time's coming down to John. It's going to be close. What is Phil Glover going to do? He goes up into P11, just behind Dave Rolliston. There's some purple sectors being set as well. Paul LeMay's just done a purple sector in Sector 1 on his final flying lap. As Phil Glover's did a purple sector in Sector 5. So sector's still coming down and still very, very close. Again, you can see the sea of orange that is on the left-hand side now. Anything under orange, as we know, is under half a second. And apart from the gap between Hutchison and Busson, there is no gap that is that is more than half a second, at least in the top 20 anyway, which I find quite astounding. This is going to be certainly a good race. Paul LeMay goes a little bit wide. They just about keeps it. I don't think that will cost him. Paul Crabb there. Look at that. Paul Crabb with a 56.4. And I think Paul LeMay, his last lap, did count. He did get an off track for that, so he won't be having any more laps available. That is it. John Hutchinson's last lap didn't count either. So, unfortunately, that is going to be it. Dom Langweb is now P3. Mike Busson 4th, and Simon Edwards P5. Martin Booker, I mean, again, only about 6-7 tenths away, which can be the difference between. It's easy. It's hard to gain the time. It's easy to lose that time as well. So just remember that the gaps that you see there, even though there are a couple of tenths, it's hard to tell with qualifying it. It is hard to tell a qualifying when it comes to Bathurst because you're never 100% sure if there was a mistake. Unless you're watching every single lap and every single moment, you're never quite sure. Mike Busson just about to go across the line. Is he going to gain another position? He's currently P4 at the moment. He comes across the line. No, he does not. Last lap was a 10th slower. So he won't be gaining any more positions. Possibly may lose some. Depends what Phil Glover can do. So Phil Glover does go up. He goes up one more position. Up into P11. Couple more dry. Actually, that's everyone. That is everyone finishing. That is everyone that has finished their laps for the moment. Austin Gretorets Edge getting a final cheeky bit of practice in. The Porsche Sport Radical, the number 22. Again, sort of slotted into the beginning of the season. Very, very little practice. Austin Gretorets had and put a very, very good performance. Road America being the notable one. That would have been, again, well, obviously the lap won't be timed anyway, but that would have been a off track. Anyway, that would have counted it at a 0x, and that would have invalidated the lap. You can see on the left-hand side all the different times the drivers are going, and it's still very, very close. We are going to bring the grid, the official grid, in a few moments' time. And in fact, here is the grid coming up for you now. So, we have John Hutchison that takes that pole position with Paul Crabb. A stellar performance for Paul Crabb in P2. Dom Langweb in 3rd. Mike Busson 4th. Simon Edwards 5th. Martin Booker, race winner for last round, in P6. Colin Wynn takes 7th. Paul Clark 8th. Paul LeMay in 9th. Richard Brown 10th. Phil Glover 11th. Dave Rolliston takes P12. Austin Gretorets with P13. Graham Brown 14th. Andy Hugillen 15th. Ray Peasley 16th. Dave Kurtman takes P17. Not the best qualifying for the man that's currently sitting 3rd in the standings. Phil Jocelyn 18th. Tim Adcock 19th. Martina Ward P20. Damien G 21st, Dave Dowson 22nd. Pat Seaborn takes P23. And then Christopher Kane will not be on the grid. I have not also seen Martinez de la Cruz is not here either, which is a bit of a shame. So we won't be seeing Martinez de la Cruz on the grid today for this race. So he's going to drop a little bit further down the order after this. See drivers lining up on the grid. Couple more drivers to go. And then we will be underway for round number 5 at Bathurst for the Radical Race Series. Slightly longer race as well, this one. We have 16 laps for this particular track. So we're looking at around a 32-minute race. Especially depending on, well, it depends on how fast John Moe Hutchinson and Paul Crabb, and that's how fast that they go. There was some, I think, one of the first season that we did with the Radical Race Series. There was certainly some interesting battles there. There was a couple of nasty little incidents. Hopefully we don't see that again today. We'll have to see. There we are. So the cars are on the grid. Everyone is on the grid. Lights are on. Who's going to get the jump on the start? And away they go. It was a good start for Dave Rose. It wasn't a very good start for Dom Langweb, who's already dropped a couple of positions. Look a bit further down there. There is Dom Langweb. Simon Evans just sails around the outside. So does Mike Busson. So Langweb's already dropped a couple of positions already. Certainly not what you want. Everyone gets through cleanly, though, going down into Quarry. First time, there's a little bit of scrapping going on. Zosin Greterex, Dave Rolderston, Andy Hugill, all trying to ferry. They managed to go single file eventually. That was Dave. Dave Kirkman's already made it 3 positions, started in P17. He's now already up into P14. The next person along is Austin Greterex. Dave Kirkman doing very, very well to start with. Again, similar single file line, especially as you go through the mountain. This is now pretty much all single file. The last thing you want to do is to drive the car, push the car a bit too much. You'll end up costing yourself a considerable amount of time, especially when you get involved, if you do get involved in an incident. But everyone manages to go through. Someone had a bit of a look then. Was that? It looked like Ray Peasley had a bit of a look there. Coming now down into the S's. Again, everyone slotting through single file. Very, very respectable driving from everyone here. Back at the front, or nearer the front, Simon Edwards and Dom Langweb. This is now coming down onto Conrod Straight. So flat chat here. Again, what we need to do now is just wait as they come down into the braking zone for the chase. Go through down into the braking zone, braking around about 100, 110. Into board, there's going to be certainly quite a lot of things. Actually, Mike Busson's had an off. Mike Busson's had a spin. Must have caught the grass or something, because it's not a place that you... it's certainly not a place that you want to spin at very often. And that's cost him. Ray Peasley's had a moment. There's lots of people that have had lots of moments here. But it's definitely... the order has been shaken up somewhat, especially at this start of the race. So Chris Kane actually, while he didn't qualify, Chris Kane did start. Very attractive looking photo in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen there. Is he going to get past? Andy Hugo has a bit of a look up the inside of Hell Corner. Decides against it, though. Chris Kane was able to carry the speed around the outside. There's a bit of a battle going on here. So Phil Glover leads this train of Austin Greterex, Dave Rolliston, Dave Kirkman, who's now up 5 positions. He's obviously, again, started in 17th, up into 12th. With the pace that Kirkman has got and the way he's moving forward, a top 10 is certainly on the cards here for Kirkman, if he can keep the tyres in check. Setup is also a big factor here as well. Do you go for the additional speed down Conrod Straight, or do you go for a little bit more downforce when it comes to trying to go through the mountain as quickly as you can? It's always that dilemma of what you do, especially in a car like this where momentum is everything, but also straight line speed. You know, while these cars are very fast acceleration-wise, top speed isn't necessarily the fastest. I think Colin Wiz just made a move on Dom Langweb. Yes, and I'll tell you why. I think that's because actually Dom Langweb has had a big moment. What's happened to Dom Langweb? Oh my goodness, that has all gone wrong. So it didn't happen on the opening lap, but it happened the lap later. Oh, we need a replay of that. ASAP. So let's have a look. Here is the replay here. This is not the replay. This is the replay. So what happened here with... Did Dom Lang Webb just get the car? Seemed to be okay at the moment. I wonder if he tapped the wall. Ah, that'd be why. Oh, yeah, that's gone wrong. You see Paul Clark got involved there as well, and it's just carnage. I mean, Dom does the right thing, in all honesty. He just holds the brake, but you're coming down a blind corner at that point. It's so tricky. It's so difficult to be able to see what's going on, or still more contact coming through, and unfortunately, that is the end of Dom Lang Webb's race, along with that's Guy Robertson. I think Dave Kurtman. Dave Kurtman's had a moment. What's happened to Dave Kurtman? I don't think that happened. No, it didn't happen. It definitely didn't happen. Yeah, I wonder what has happened to... Unless Dave did get involved in that incident. Although I highly doubt it. I don't think he did. So Guy Robertson, is this the... Yeah, so Guy Robertson gets tagged again. Just sees it at the last minute, and unfortunately, he is... I think... so Dave Kurtman did get tagged in that incident there. As he was going through, I didn't realise that Kurtman actually got tagged. In all honesty, with there, let's have another look at it if we can. We've got a little bit of time. If we just go on board with Dave Kurtman. There is Dave Kurtman. Yeah, so he's coming down the chase at this point now. Again, is it just going to be just a blind entry? You go through the left. Obviously, Spot will be telling him that there's a yellow flag. And it just goes the wrong way. There's a 50-50 chance of where you can go. And unfortunately, it was just the wrong way. So that will be a hefty repair bill for Kurtman. So it's a shame, running so well. The gaps have extended. The gaps have really opened up now. So 3 laps gone of this 16-lap race. John Hutchinson has just checked out at this point. So currently your top 3, John Hutchinson, Paul Crabb, Simon Edwards, and then Martin Booker. I feel they're going to have a pretty boring race at the rate that they're going, because they've got at least well over a second between the pair of them. You know, Paul Crabb and John. John and Paul. The gap there is 3.5 seconds. Booker and Simon Edwards, the gap is 3 seconds again. So we're going to need to see and check on lap time wise. But back down with the order of the battle for P13. Andy Hugill making a move and battling quite heavily there with Dave Dowson. That's what we like to see. So Andy Hugill does make that move stick. Started in P15. He's now up into 13th position. Again, doing a very sensible job here, just moving through the order. Again, just keeping out of trouble. Keep his nose clean and just working through the field as opportunities present themselves. He's really gapped Dave Dowson by about 0.7 of a second. There, a bit of sparks kicked up there by Mike Busson. They're going through the mountain again. Commitment is key here. Commitment can gain or lose you time very easily, actually. And, well, like I said, it's hard to gain the time here, but it's easy to lose the time. A fraction too late on the brakes, you'll cost yourself. A fraction too early on throttle, the car will snap on you. You've got to be so careful. What's happened to Graham Brown? Graham Brown, there's Graham Brown. Got involved in the contact, I think a bit of contact there with Paul LeMay. No, he wouldn't have gone. Paul LeMay had his own incident, I believe, along with Guy Robertson, who also had his own incident. We've got a couple of replays to look at in a few moments. A little bit further up the head, though. Martina Ward versus Mike Busson. Where is Mike Busson? There it's still side by side up as well with Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn. The two Phils, they're going to go possibly. I thought there was going to be a bit of a lunge there for Jocelyn, but nothing yet. Mike Busson does make that move stick on Martina Ward. So Martina Ward drops into 11th after starting in P20. So certainly made up the positions, and there we go. Mike Busson's not hanging about, is he? Straight away at the inside of Phil Jocelyn. This may open the door for Martina Ward to try and go through. I thought the gap was closer than that. No, it was not. Drag race down, although Phil Jocelyn, this man, he's nursing some damage at this point, so he might see a potential move on the way back now for Martina Ward. Depends on how close that gap can drop down to. Run on ball with Mike Burson. There is Phil Jocelyn. So you can see that coming down into Quarry, the gap has closed, but it's not closed enough. A little bit wide there for Jocelyn. He goes a tiny bit wide again. Loses another 10. So easy to lose time here, like I said. Again, just a little bit tiny bit too wide there. Still manages to pull a little bit of a gap on Martina Ward, so extended it back out to 3/10 of a second. Just needs to maintain it, although with that damage he's got, again, a little bit wide there. The car is definitely hurting. You can see on the rear, just hasn't got the rotation he's used to, especially considering the amount of damage that he's got. That's very, very on the brakes. A little bit too late on the brakes there for Martina Ward. And sacrifices, again, a tiny bit of time. It's not too much, but it's enough. It extends that gap to over half a second once again. But Martina Ward gets that time straight back. Once again, run now down into the Jace. Although, having a look at this, Andy Hugh Gill versus Martina Ward. This is actually, we might stay on board with Phil Jocelyn if we can here, because it's a drag race down to for the both of them. What's Andy Hugo going to do? Martina Ward is on the outside as they go down into the chase. Late on the brakes, Martina Ward. Oh, I just got out of shot for a second, and I didn't think that was going to be I thought it was going to be a bit of contact there, but there was not. And Andy Hugo out-braked himself a little bit. Martina Ward braked late, but Andy Hugo braked even later, and it was just a little bit over the mark. So position there was lost, and that position was handed straight back to Martina Ward. Great racing from the both of them. Let's have a look at the instance that we saw. So Paul LeMay was one of them. So what happened to Paul LeMay? Again, just like, does he tag the wall, or all brakes come through? Yeah, that's going to be, you can see the car flick one way, then flick the other, and just hops into the wall for good measure. We'll have a look at that again, just in a little bit more of a slow motion if we can. We'll just slow that down because it's interesting. You can see, oh, we've got, again, a little bit of a break. Have a look at the transition, the weight shift here. So as we go through, you'll notice that as the brakes come on with that bit of steering lock, you'll notice the weight shift, and then the brakes will be released, and the car then shifts the other way. So there's the brake, there's the shift. It's a tiny release of the brakes there. It'll be a tiny release, probably about 15-20%. And as the rear then starts to grip back up and the car then slots the other way, it just causes the rear end picks up momentum and just causes the car to spin. So a combination of things happened there, but it was interesting to see. And let's have a look at what happened to Guy Robertson. Guy Robertson coming down into Skyline. A little bit too wide there. That probably carried a bit too much speed in, and then was there a bit of a spin? Yeah, so a bit too much braking as I go through. And I think Graham Brown did the exact same thing. In all honesty, did he do the same thing? It looks like he did. Let's have a look. So you'll just see you'll see at the front a little bit wide. Graham Brown does it a little bit earlier actually. He goes in. Whether that was a brake lock on the rear, that's what my guess would be. Yeah, no, but unfortunately, they can't really do much at that point. They just sort of have to sit there. And I don't think Graham Brown is fancies going forward with that race anymore. Back now down with the battle we were previously at before. They're looking at the replay. Phil Jocelyn versus Martina Ward. This gap is sort of stayed there or thereabouts. And honestly, nothing really has changed all that much. The gap has opened up a little bit to about 0.6 of a second. So we'll keep an eye on that battle as we go. But this is the other battle that we've got to keep an eye out for here. This is Richard Brown, Dave Rolliston. Richard Brown actually making the move. Dave Rolliston making the move on Richard Brown with not really much defence there from Brown in the number 3, which is never thought there'd be a bit more of a defence than that, but that is not the case. Another couple of things to keep an eye out for. Here. We've got another couple of replays to look at. Have a look, and we're going to bring you this replay in a few moments, but have a look at what's happened to the gap between Matt Hutchinson and Paul Crabb. And that gap has come down quite considerably. It was on the last lap as well that we saw a bit of a mistake from John Hutchinson, a rare mistake from Hutchinson, a mistake nevertheless, and that has brought that gap down 2.4 seconds. It's not going to be enough. Unfortunately, Paul Crabb would want a couple more of those from Hudson to bring him back into play. But I think at this point he just have to keep hitting his marks. Here comes Mike Busson on Richard Brown. So he's lost one position already this lap. Is he going to lose two? He comes down into the braking zone. Yes, he has done. So Mike Busson makes up a position there. And coming down, another battle into the chase is Austin Greatorex versus... sorry, this is Andy Hugill and Pat Seaborn. They're going to go side by side down into the chase. And Pat Seaborn relinquishes the position. And Hugill makes that pass. Let's have a look at what happened to John Hutchinson. They're coming through down into the chase. Little bit. There we go. So again, just a tiny bit too fast on the entry. Causes the car to just over-rotate ever so slightly, but does well to maintain it. You can just see Paul Crabb there, of which that gap is now actually gone back up to 2.7 seconds. So Hutchinson has not really been phased, in all honesty, at all by the small little moment that he had there. Ray Peasley has lost, he's had another incident going into Hell Corner, going down to turn 1. So need to see, does he over-rotate again on the brakes? Yeah, just again, that little bit too fast in. Wasn't using all of the track as well. That could have had a factor, actually, into the car. What it does show is Peasley was driving very much on the limit, so really pushing the car. But yeah, just didn't use all of the track available. When you start adding the same amount of steering lock, same amount of braking, without using all of the track, the tyres sometimes can get a little bit overwhelmed. So it's got to be, you've got to be a little bit cautious of that. And if you know you're not going to use all of the circuit available, sometimes you do have to compensate for that a little bit. But it's a very unlucky, very hard to save because it does tend to snap this car pretty quickly. Three-way battle almost. It was a three-way battle. Unfortunately, Richard Brown is dropping a fair bit. Mike Busson and Dave Rolliston. So is Mike Busson going to make this position? I think he is. Number 23 goes through. Yep. Again, no real attack there, or no real defensive there from Dave Rolliston. And Colin Wynn is in the pits. Interesting enough, I don't know why Colin Wynn is in the pits, but he is in the pits. I don't think it's to do with. I wonder what it could be actually. Actually, apologies. Yes, sorry. Slightly longer format. That is, of which I believe the mandatory pit stop for this race. I'll just confirm that for you before I possibly shoot myself in the foot. We'll just have to confirm that whether there was the mandatory pit stop just to shake things up, especially when it comes to your fuel management. Whoa! Big moment there for Busson. Wow, that was a moment. Oh my goodness. Fair play. Fair play for Mike Busson saving that then. That was a very precarious position to be in. Hutchinson 3.6 seconds is the gap now. He's extending it quite again, back over the 3 second mark. So Hutchinson could probably afford to back off a little bit here, in all honesty. Probably wouldn't need to drive too aggressively now. He can just sort of sit there and lap at his normal, lap at sort of 9/10. He doesn't need to put, doesn't really need to add anything. Anything else, doesn't need to overdrive the car or anything like that. James Parvitt says, how's Colin Wynn and Damien G doing? So Colin Wynn currently in P13. As we can see him there. There he is. Going through. A little bit of damage to the rear that he's got. But managing to keep the car on the tarmac at the moment, which is good. So nursing that damage very well. And then Damien G at number 40. Currently sitting in P16, having started P20 first, so he's kept out of trouble. He's got a clean car at the moment. So yes, he's in P16, having made up those 5 positions. So again, a very good performance indeed there for Damien G. A couple more drivers going in for the pit stop. Tim Adcock now goes into the pits. In fact, Dom Lang-Webb has had a moment. I'm intrigued to see what's happened here. He's already nursing a little bit of damage. I wonder if this is going to impact that damage even more. Oh, one way then the other. Does he manage to... Oh, no, he doesn't. I thought he managed to keep out of the barrier then, but that was not the case. And Damon G has had to... was escorted to the pits once and has now had to have been escorted back to the pits once again. So a little bit unfortunate there for Dom Langweb. Again, a race that he'll want to be forgetting sooner rather than later, I'm sure. 6 laps to go here now at Bathurst for week number 5. Dave Roldeston doing a very, very respectable job indeed in P6 at the moment. So a couple of drivers have pitted, and yes, they will be doing one pit stop. It is a mandatory pit stop, we just confirmed. So just to, again, give that little bit more of an opportunity to, if something does happen, you know, something could very well happen, very easily happen when it comes to a slightly poorer pit stop, or not an optimal pit stop, I should say. You'll start to make some positions up there. So, you know, in all honesty, we've actually got a really, really good... it's a really nice spread as we got John Hutchinson, Paul Crabb, Summoner. They're all coming into the pits at the same time. So pretty much no one was able to save an extra lap of fuel. Unless someone comes across the line that hasn't already. What are we going to do? We're going to see there's a pretty extensive gap between Martin Booker and Mike Busson. About 10 seconds or so. Even more than that, about 20 seconds. So pretty much. So Mike Busson comes into the pits. Is he made it? So he hasn't. Neither has Dave Roldeston. Neither's Richard Brown. So pretty much everyone. No one has gone further than John Hutchinson, at least in a position where they could make up some additional time. Martina Moore comes into the pit, so does Phil Glover, Phil Jocelyn, all driving the car and pretty much running the tank dry, which generally is the quickest way. The longer you can run the car, the lighter you can run the car, the less fuel you have to put in it when you come into the pit stop. So the less time you are sat still, which is exactly what you want. If you were to pit in, say, very early, you're going to have to sit in the pits a little bit longer because you have to put more fuel in to make sure you get to the end. The only way that you can offset that is if you were to pit in at the earliest possible moment, so you could brim the tank and then go again. So you're almost swapping around what you would do here. Instead of just draining the tank and then filling up to what you need, you simply get to the amount that you've used to get you to the end of the race on the empty tank, and then you fill it up. So it's the other way that you can do it. It doesn't tend to work all that well. It's a little bit tricky because you put yourself in a slightly more precarious position of more traffic, and that can cost you more time, and it doesn't really work out. It can work in some situations, but not necessarily all of them. It's very, very rare that I've seen it work. And believe me, I have tried. That could just be saying something about myself, though, and my driving. So, in all honesty, there we go. Gaps themselves had all opened up now. So, in terms of the intervals, you can see on the left-hand side, no gap apart from is Richard Brown and Dave Roldeston. No gap is under a second. 5 laps to go here. That doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to be not seeing any battle, because that, as we all know, is not the case. We've seen that several times over the course of the seasons. That is not the case. It can all change in the blink of an eye. You don't really need to have anything different or have anything change in all honesty. It could just you'll just see the gaps come down. They just sort of happen. And this is actually a gap that's certainly coming down now, because have a look at this. We'll say that Richard Brown goes a bit wide. That's extended the gap once again. But Dave Roldeston just seemed like he switched his tyres on as quickly as Richard Brown coming out of the pit. So, yeah, that could have been a possible opportunity there for Richard Brown to make another position. But if he can bring that time back down, he will obviously... that gap will come. So we'll need to keep an eye out for that. He's late on the brakes, pulls another 10th back. Interesting to see how this battle develops. We'll have to keep an eye out for it. Ray Peasley has had another moment that I can see. So let's have a look at this. Have a look at this replay here. What happens again? Coming down. Mountain into Forest Elbow. Oh, I tell you what. In all that, manages to miss the wall. I mean, that's a tricky thing to do. When you're coming down into the dipper, if generally 9 times out of 10, if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. There's nothing much you can really do there, in all honesty. But I tell you what, that was a very impressive there for Ray Peasley to keep that in check. We go back to live pictures now. Speaking of Ray Peasley, he's in a battle with Graham Brown here. We haven't seen much of Graham on the stream, but here we go. This is Graham Brown now. It's going to be, again, it's a drag race. Definitely a drag race now. Down into the chase. It's going to be last of the late breakers. We see Graham Brown that is ahead only by a smidge. Ray Peasley drops out of it for a brief moment, then sends it back up the inside. Is there going to be a bit of contact? I don't think there was. It didn't look like there was any contact there. I would like to see that overtake again, maybe from a slightly different angle, just to see if there was. In fact, let's have a look at it from the chopper cam. Here we go. So was there any changes? Was there a bit of contact? No, there wasn't contact. You see, Graham Brown tried to hold the position around the outside, which is a respectable move to do. Why would you not? You're certainly able to do that. You are more than welcome to try it. Generally, these cars have enough downforce that it does tend to work, or it can work in some situations. The problem is as you go through the chase, that complex there, that left hander tightens up a little bit more than you expect. You would expect it to open up, and it doesn't quite open up as much as you initially think, and that costs you, or can cost you, quite a bit of time. So that was obviously that was why that happened there. So a bit of a shame there for Graham Brown, because it was a very, very respectable attempt. But Ray Peasley has just pulled that gap up now to 1.6 seconds. Everyone has pitted now. We are having a couple of people that have pitted twice. Paul LeMay's actually pitted 3 times, as has Guy Robertson. So certainly not ideal for the drivers that have had to pit twice. That's the last. Oh, someone's got around. Is that Ray Peasley again? I think it was. Yes, it was indeed. So Ray Peasley, after managing to maintain that position, you can just see, I think that's Simon Edwards behind, as he gets spooked a little bit by, I think, just a little bit spooked there by Simon Edwards. And then that just sends him around, which is certainly not ideal. This is a battle as we come straight out of the as Paul Clark comes straight out of the pits for his second pit stop. He's put right into a battle with Andy Hugh-Gill. And I tell you what, he's not hanging about, is he? He wants to get that position straight away. Who is going to be the person that gets it? Is it going to be Paul Clark? Yes, it is, through turn 2. After all that, his car's repaired. And he's back out off that big incident on lap number 2. He's back now up into P15 after that overtake there on Andy Hugh-Gill. Good move, clean, collected, straight out of the pits. Switched those tyres on as much as he could do within the space of about half a kilometre. Then off you go. This is side by side between the two Phils, Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn. Ooh, it's Phil Glover that still maintains that lead. Actually, no, sorry, it was Phil Glover that's actually made the overtake there. In fact, let's see if we can get that overtake for you now. Here it is, again coming down into. Okay, so on the inside of the chase. While Phil Jocelyn did brake quite late, not late enough. And we actually see Phil Glover take a little bit of curb on the inside there. It can easily upset the car, but he manages to keep it in check. But now roles have been reversed. The gap is 3/10. You'll see that come down to probably about 2/10 by the time they get down into quarry. Or not, as the case may be. In fact, you see, and this is one of the things I was talking about when it comes to the setup. So you may actually see Phil Glover take a bit more speed off coming into the faster sections of the track, especially going with a mountain with that slightly maybe additional downforce. But the gap was just enormous, and the pace absolutely enormous in terms of pace difference between Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn. A good probably 7 or 8 Ks towards the end of the straight going down into quarry, I would imagine, through there. Very, very, that's a big speed difference, and I don't think, so Phil Jocelyn just doesn't have the car underneath him just to pull any time back, unfortunately. So I feel that position that Phil Glover made is certainly going to stick. There's a bit of a moment though, so the gap does come down a couple of tenths. But then have a look again, straight onto Conrod straight. Just have a look at this gap open up. It's what, 8 tenths coming out. And in fact, Phil Jocelyn is pulling some time back. And there we go, straight away that switches. Bear in mind that Jocelyn is still in a draft, who's still in the tow. That's 2/10 of a second. 3/10 of a second it's going to be now. Yeah, so Whether there's some underfloor damage possibly from Jocelyn's car, that's why he can't quite get the turn down. Not entirely sure. Final laps, coming into these final couple of laps now. 2 more laps to go here, and I've just noticed Martin Booker and Simon Edwards. Well, the top 4 have been very, very quiet. They've been very quiet, and it's all starting. See what I mean? It all starts to come down towards the end. It all starts to get a little bit closer. So, intrigued to see. I'm intrigued to see what happens here. Are we going to see possibly a final lap battle between the 2 drivers? I wonder greatly if we are. Depends, the gap's it's just hovering 9/10 of a second to 10/10 of a second. It's tricky, but it might very well come down. We've got, it depends obviously again on the different setups, and I believe looks like Simon Evans may be running just a tiny bit less downforce, but the draft is helping. It's helping maintain. Just depends if the gap can come down, and we see there the white flag has just been waved. So John Hutchinson is on his final lap. It's a boys coming. It's getting close. It's getting close. 7/10 of a second. We're going to go right on board in a few moments if we can. We're going to ride on board with Simon Evans. I think. Yeah. Let's quickly have a little bit of an on board with. Where's these? Actually, sorry. This is Simon Evans there. Let's go on board with Martin Booker. 7/10 of a second is the gap. Edwards did get a little bit of a tow. It's come down. It's come down quite a lot. I don't think it's going to be enough. It's going to be close. It's going to be really close. Oh, you heard there. You heard the wheels get spooled up a little bit there. As he goes over the crest, the gap once again up to 8/10 of a second. This is a commitment now. Absolute commitment here from Martin Booker. Doesn't keep it flat. Absolutely pinned to the floor. It won't be flat through here. In fact, it is flat through there. Maybe a slight lift going through Solman. As it come down, McPhillamy and then Skyline. 6/10 of a second now is the gap. I tell you what, it's all going to come down to the exit going through the dipper and then Forest Elbow. The gap. This could be the make or break moment. You see Booker goes a bit wider trying to get the run down. 8/10 of a second is the gap. So it was a 10th down from last lap, although I don't think it's going to be enough. In all honesty, we'll have to see. Could very well be. Again, we simply do not know. John Hutchinson, 2 laps to go. 2 laps to go, 2 corners to go even. 1 more corner now as he comes down into Murray's corner for the final tyre with a 6-second lead. Once again, missed last week, dominant fashion, straight back once again, take the top of the standings. But John Hutchinson takes the race victory. We got Paul Crabb will come across the line in P2. In fact, there he is. And then unfortunately, Simon Edwards, Martin Booker. I think Simon Edwards had a moment then. I think the gap just opened up a little bit. So, yes, Simon Edwards, Martin Booker will come across the line there. And then a 25-second gap. Hell of a gap, though, between Booker and Wynn. And Wynn's still not even got through the last corner yet. So, the top 4 just sailed away. Absolutely just drove off into the distance. So bear in mind, Mel Hudson was 6 seconds ahead of Paul Crabb. Although I don't think really Paul Crabb is going to be pushing all that much. Take the points, take the consistency, exactly what you want to do. Colin Wynn P5. A couple more drivers to come across the line. Then we're going to bring you the official results in a few moments. But before that, we're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back in a few moments to take you through the race results here of round number 5 for the UK&I Radical Race Series here at Bathurst. Stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iracing.com.
So welcome back everyone to what has been a very, very excitable race. As per usual here, Bathurst never disappoints. And why would it? It's Bathurst. It's a fantastic circuit. It's a fantastic track. And it's something I absolutely adore, especially with these cars. It's the first time I was introduced actually to this track and car combination was in the Radical Race series. You know what? I've been a fan ever since. Here is your official finishing results here. So John Hutchison does take that win with a very dominant fashion, as we are used to, 6 seconds ahead of Simon Edwards. Paul Crabb in P2, Simon Edwards P3. Martin Booker, race winner last week, takes P4. Colin Wynn in 5th. Mike Busson takes P6 for this particular race. Dave Rolliston in 7th. Phil Glover 8th. Phil Jocelyn in 9th. And then Martina Ward, very good performance, up in P10. Richard Brown takes P11 with Dave Dowson in 12th. Pat Seaborn takes 13th, Damien G in 14th, with Paul Clark taking P15 for round number 5. Anna Hugh Gill takes 16th, Graham Brown takes 17th, finishing a lap down, as does Ray Peasley, Tim Adcock, Paula May finishing a couple of laps down, Guy Robertson, Austin Greatorex finishing 8 laps down. Dom Lang-Webb, such a strong performance in qualifying, unfortunately. P23, 9 laps down after a couple of incidents. Dave Kirkman, again, another strong start to the race. Moving forward, takes P24. Then Chris Kane, 15 laps down, retiring on the second lap in P25. So that is your grid. We're going to have a couple of interviews, if we can, with the winners. Or at least with the potential top 3, if we'll give them a moment to hop in. And then we'll be having a chat with them. Very excited to, as we go through, we've got potentially a couple, we may have a couple of drivers coming in a few moments. We will have to wait and see. Give it a few minutes for everyone to jump in. And then we will be going from there. In fact, we do have already, we have one person that we are going to drop in, and it is Colin Wynn. Colin, can you hear us?
Yeah, hi Daniel.
How are you doing? That was a strong performance there. P5, P7 start though. Talk me through it, because Bathurst is never an easy one, especially somewhere like especially in the Radicals. Just talk me through the race for you. How did it go?
Yeah, it went really well actually. I just stayed out of everybody's way, but I'll never chase these aliens. These guys in front of me are just so fast. So yeah, once I've done about 4 or 5 laps, I just paced myself.
And it's interesting you said that actually. When you said obviously going through in terms of pacing yourself. Now pacing yourself is tricky at the best of times. It's even trickier somewhere like here. Are you doing anything different when it comes to actually? Are you doing anything different when it comes to pacing yourself in regards to this at all? Is there something that you do differently to Bathurst? I know for me anyway, my approach completely changes at Bathurst, which I always find it gives me a little bit more opportunity to, not have any incidents.
Well, I take it a little bit easier over the top of the hill there before you go into the dipper. So I definitely brake much earlier than normal on that one, but the rest of it is generally flat out. But I just kept looking at my relative and seeing who's behind me, and I saw Mike was catching me, and then all of a sudden he dropped to like 8 seconds behind. And I thought, okay, I've got 3 laps to go. I'll just pace myself nice and gently. But yeah, he soon caught me, but didn't pass.
No, and like I said, did very, very well. I said P5, a very, very strong position. Looking ahead to next week, any thoughts again in terms of strong performance obviously this round, something I'm guessing you're going to want to take into next round as well?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I'll give it 110% as I always do, and what will be will be.
Perfect stuff. Colin, thank you very much for tuning into the and catching up on the broadcast. Really good to catch up, and I look forward to speaking with you next week.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you.
Take care. And there we go. That was Colin Wynn. Having a quick little catch up with him. We are going to bring in a few moments' time. We're going to bring in John Hudson. In fact, we do have John with us now. John, congratulations again on the win. 6 seconds clear, or pretty much 6 seconds clear of Paul Crabb. I think we had one mistake, in that race going through into the chase. There was a little bit of a moment there in the braking zone, but apart from that, seemed like a straightforward race.
Yeah, so just talking about that to Paul. I had a couple of moments at the chase. I think I had the rear bias too aggressive at the rear, so I moved it forward a bit, and that helped it. But it was a good race, good fun race.
Well, coming back from obviously from not being not available last week, and then obviously coming back, strong performance once again, taking the top back the top step on the championship currently. Next week will be halfway through the season. Has anything changed in terms of? Would you say anything that's changed massively? Are you going to miss any more? Are you missing any more rounds scheduled for? Or are we going to see you now for the remainder of the season?
No, I think it should be good for the rest of them. One in May the 5th I'll miss, so I don't know where we are then, but I'll miss that night. But it should be good for the rest of them. Can't let Martin Slaphead stay at the top of the
not
league
at
too
all.
long. No, that can't happen. So,
I mean, it's certainly close to the top of the standing. So again, I'm excited to see the next half of the season. If it's as close as it is this half, it's going to be an interesting last race. I'll tell you that.
yeah, definitely should be a good end to the season.
Absolutely, will be indeed. John, good to catch up as ever. Thank you very much. Well done again on the win, and we will catch up with you next week.
Yep, thanks Daniel. Cheers, pal.
Yeah. We are John Hutchison taking the race victory. We're going to have a chat now with Paul Crabb. Paul, P2, it's obviously 6 seconds down on John, but again, a strong points haul for this race.
It's about time. I've been throwing away points left, right, and centre over the last few weeks, so I did my best to try and hang on to a few today. So.
Well, I mean, it obviously certainly did well. And Bathurst, of all tracks, to be able to have that strong position, and that's got to give you some confidence as well in terms of the mentality mindset going into the second half of the season.
Yeah, but I've always gone well at Bathurst, but then I've done the 12 hours every year, and I love the track, so I'm quite confident going up and down the hill. As long as if I don't have cars around me, I'm okay. As soon as I have to start battling, then it gets a bit iffy. So.
Well, as always, especially at a circuit like this, again, it's always a tricky one. But no, like I said, 4 seconds clear of Simon Edwards, and then I said while it was a no man's land, it was certainly a very respectable race. Anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to on the broadcast as we hear?
Well, actually, shout out to John McHutchinson. I was using his setup for the first time. He posted it on the Discord channel, and it definitely gave me a few tenths around here and a bit more confidence in some of the corners I was struggling in. So John was as usual. He just drifted away. I thought I might have him a couple of times when he lost it on the chase or just put a foot wrong on the chase, but wasn't to be. And then I stuffed up the fuel stop a bit. I took too much fuel and didn't do it very cleverly. So anyway, it was a good race.
Absolutely.
So.
Perfect stuff. Well, Paul, look forward to catching up with you next week. And again, well done on P2.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Take care. And then last but not least, we have Mr. Simon Edwards. Simon, a P3 on the card, some strong points gained there. More importantly, you were, finished ahead of Martin Booker. So while John has obviously, taken full points, you've definitely pulled a little bit of pulled some points back on Martin Booker, who was leading the championship.
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm just really here to come back to racing. I'd got COVID, so that's why I missed last race. So I'm still testing positive for COVID, but I'm feeling well enough to try something that isn't just looking at the television.
Well, absolutely. It's good to be able to have that. Being able to come back in. Continue. You do have obviously COVID. You're never going to be at 100%. So to come back in and to have a P3, a couple of position gained was really, really good. Interesting enough, I've just got the championship standings on the board. So you had John Hutchison obviously taking the win. Then also had Martin Booker, obviously, who you finished ahead of, as you finished ahead of also Dave Kirkman. Sergio Martinez wasn't actually here, Dave Kirkman obviously had an unfortunate couple of incidents. So, in all honesty, I think you had we should be seeing you up into, I would imagine, if my maths is correct, which that's certainly something to take with a pinch of salt, you should be in third in the championship. So I think going into the second half of the season, it's pretty good, strong position.
Yeah, it looks like it's not all lost.
No, certainly not.
Yeah. I was a bit annoyed that I couldn't do the 24 hours of Neuschleife at the weekend. That was annoying. Yeah, still third. And I've still got a chance. Just need John not to turn up.
He is missing round May the 5th. He said he is missing. So there's your window.
Yeah, I need it.
Simon, again, very, very good stuff. Congratulations again on P3. Really, really good stuff indeed. And I look forward to catching up with you next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. And we do actually have the Phil Glover's just popped in the comms box as well. Can you hear me, Phil? Phil? I think we may have lost Phil there. We'll see if we can get him. We can get him back in a few moments' time. But I think before that, just in case there are some more technical issues, I fear we may not be getting a chance to have a catch up with Phil, which is a bit of a shame. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to wrap up, I think, there. Thank you again to everyone for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you keeping me company for round number 5. We'll be back next week, as always, same time, so do not go anywhere. We look very much forward to seeing you next week for week number 6. Absolutely fantastic race. Congratulations to John Hutchison, Paul Crabb, and Simon Edwards for the top 3 for week number 5. And I'm very much looking forward to broadcasting week number 6. If the racing for the first half of the season is anything to go by, the second half of the season is going to be very, very close as well. But thank you all for watching. As always, take care, stay safe.